let anger and fear overwhelm. So I think there's lots to be angry and afraid of right now, just like there was a lot to be angry and afraid of in his time. And these are the enemies of hope. So I think it's important for us each to take responsibility for cultivating our own moral chops, having that sense that we can practice, even if it's just in the thinking mind. Obviously, the words and actions that we have out there in the world are super important, but it all starts in the thinking, in the thoughts. So can you police yourself a little bit? Can you have that sense of noticing when fear or anger, sense of injustice, a sense of your hands being tied behind your back, not being able to make a change in the way you want to in the world, how do these things affect you? Does fear, when it comes, make you blind to reality in certain ways? Does it make you see things in a way that isn't constructive toward healing the world? So I think if we really pay attention to our thoughts and the ways in which fear and anger, in particular, I mean, there's lots to think about, but today, just to think about the ways fear and anger permeate you, and how does it color you? How does it color your thought patterns? How does it make you act in the world? What does it make you say to people? How does it make you engage with people when you are afraid or when you are angry? So if we can kind of come to the root of those emotional states and learn, like we're always learning in yoga, how to stretch the space between an impulsive emotion that we feel and what we do about it, how we choose to respond to that state. If we can stretch that space out and really be observant, present and observant for what's happening, we can come up with solutions that are not based on fear and anger, but rather are based on what we see to be justice and truth and harmony and love. Much more powerful emotional states than anger and fear if we allow them to grow within us. There's a lot of neurological basis of why we pay attention to fear, why we pay attention to anger, why those are our defaults sometimes. It's part of our survival makeup that we pay attention to the things that make us afraid. But our work in our yoga practice is to not let these things overwhelm us, so that we can choose little bit by little bit to create the world we want to, in the world inside our own mind, as well as the world in our unique community and the world community. One of my favorite quotes by Martin Luther King is that the moral arc of the universe, the long moral arc of the universe, bends towards justice. And I think we have to think long term like that. So if that helps you also, fear and anger are very right now eruptions of emotion. But if we can keep the long view of what we're trying to accomplish in humanity, to love each other, to support each other, to rise above our more banal instincts of fear and anger, we have to remember this takes a long time. So bit by bit, our practice can help us. So let's go ahead and think about, as you close your eyes, think about a recent experience. Maybe it's the news, maybe it's something more personal related to your individual life that has made you feel either afraid or angry. You probably don't have to go past this morning, right? There's probably something that is currently making you feel angry or afraid. So let's work with it. So close your eyes, choose one. You don't have to do anger and fear. Maybe they are all bundled up in one. That's how it often is for me. So just choose something that you're working with. And when you close your eyes, first notice what these things do to your body. Maybe not this very moment, but how does fear land? How does anger land inside of you? What happens to your breath? What happens to your muscles? What happens to the spaciousness you feel in your body? What happens to your ability to slow down your reaction time, to come from higher planes of consciousness? How do you react to these things? And first, when you start to notice the impact on your body, your breath, your mind, your heart, let's first offer deep compassion for those difficult states that we endure. So instead of admonishing yourself, like, oh, I should have more tolerance, not get so afraid or not get so angry, forget all that. First, just wrap yourself in a beautiful hug of support, knowing that these are difficult times for every one of us. And then next, let's pay attention to the breath. See if you can start to feel that steady state. If you like to count, maybe count to 5 or 6 for the inhale, 5 or 6 for the exhale. If you are feeling anxious right now, concentrate on the long exhale, just a little bit longer on the exhale. And let yourself become fully present with how you are breathing. Slough away tension through your face, your shoulders, and just observe. Let part of our cultivation of our moral chops is learning to be deeply present, present for suffering, present for fear, present for anger, and learning what to do with that, how to be resilient within that. So we react from higher planes of consciousness. So let the breath teach you this tool of presence, being able to stay here and now, regardless of the emotional state that you're coping with. Let your breath be a balm, like soothing hot water when you're cold. Let the breath be a balm. Visualize your stress kind of melting on your exhales. Visualize this deep connection with all beings as you take the breath in. Can you feel this prana, this energy exchange that we all share? So even if you're not feeling afraid or angry at this very moment, or if it's like a low burn on the back burner of your stove, know that you have this tool, the simple act of presence. It's simple but not easy. But you have this tool available to you. So the work really is to access the tool when you need it instead of forget that you have the tool. That's the work. That's the cultivating the moral chops. Let's place our hands together at your heart and bow in. So, work in our practice is to work on our mind, on our body, on our breath, and then take that work off the mat into action, into words. So, offer an intention to start with yourself in your practice, taking the time to nourish. Let's release the hands and come onto your back. Okay, so as you come down onto the floor, once again, remember that self compassion. See if you can get that sense that no matter what you're experiencing and no matter how it colors your thinking and kind of warps your perspective sometimes, we can always come back to art of self compassion, self love, presence in the body and mind. So let's just be here now for a moment. Drape your body down, let the earth hold you, and find your breath again. What does it feel like to breathe deeply without strain? to let the breath go slowly without tension or guard or hoarding. Let the breath go. And then as you're ready, start to move. So stretch the arms overhead if you want. Right side, left side, just get into the invigoration of muscles and sinew. Just come into your physical body. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Maybe take a deep breath and hold it and squeeze your face, squeeze your muscles. And then relax that and bring your knees into your chest. Rock a little bit. Check in. How's your back today? How's your hips? How's the flexion in your knees? Just sense into what kind of self-care you need to cultivate in your practice. And then let's circle a few times. Circling the knees. Try to lose expectations about what must be done in your practice. And instead, just let every moment be a gift of presence. So here we are in our breath, in our bodies. That's our most important task. It's not, can you touch your toes, or can you balance, or can you fill in the blank? It's just presence and breath. Bring the right knee into the chest, left leg is long on the floor. Enjoy the squeeze. And then switch sides, left knee in, right leg long on the floor, and enjoy a squeeze. And then release both arms and legs wide, starfish out, extend the spine, wiggle the fingers and toes, get to the edges of your body, feel the edges of you, roll your wrists, roll your ankles, feel your tips. And then draw your knees and head up this time, round the spine, breathe out. And let's try that one more time with breath. Inhale, expand open. Exhale, draw knees and head in. And then release and roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. So as you find your way onto all fours, let's begin with some cat-cows. Arching and rounding the spine, taking your time. Maybe you've been sedentary for a bit. Maybe you just got done with some vigorous exercise. Who knows? But just whatever you are experiencing in your body, can you allow the subtlety of waking up the space between your vertebrae? Let the discs open and smile. How's your breath? Do you focus better on the presence of mind, body, and breath with your eyes open or your eyes shut? You can experiment and try both and just feed yourself whatever skillful means you can access to come into presence. It can be something simple like opening and closing the eyes. All right, so let's move around any way you want to move around. Wag your tail, do some circles, roll your shoulders around, move your head. Anything that feels really nice to the body. And then we're going to pick up our feet if your knees allow for this. Not everybody's knees can enjoy this, but if you can pick up your feet, keep your knees on the ground, and by pick up your feet, I mean just a couple inches so you clear the floor so your feet aren't going to scrape. And then just rock your feet left and right and turn your head so face your feet with your head and just let the low back warm up a little bit, loosening some of the tension that you may feel in your lumbar spine. And then anterior tilt the pelvis, lift and widen the sit bones and stretch your hips back towards child's pose. Relax your head toward the floor, reach the arms out in front of you, extend wherever your body can go safely, comfortably. And then walk the hands over to the left. Feel a sense of openness, spaciousness, dropping weight down into the pelvis. Open up the back of the neck. Breathe through the back of the neck. And then come over to the other side, finding your way right. Soft eyes, rest them down. Drop weight into the pelvis. Open up the side body. See if you can melt the base of the skull. And then come back to center, come up on all fours, find our warm-up twist, right arm reaching up to the sky, sliding that arm through. Be very mindful to protect anything that needs protecting. Does your shoulder like this movement? Does your back like this movement? So you can always modify
anything and everything that is needed for your well-being. Come into the breath.
And then inhale and reach that arm all the way back up again. Hand down onto the ground. Change sides. Left arm lifting. Slide that shoulder down. Gaze toward the floor. Feel some weight come into that right hand. Open up the breath. All right, and then inhale, reach that arm all the way up to the sky. Place the hands down onto the ground and find your way into dog pose. So let your practice today just be, kind of touching in with, we're not going to go, we're going to go around the world a little bit. We're going to do a lot of different things. So just want you to feel alive in your body, no matter what pose you're accessing. Can you bring yourself to your breath? Can you bring yourself to your yielding and your presence? So here you are, no matter what's erupting, here you are present for it. Feel the heart lift toward the pelvis. Feel the heels stretch, the hips lift high. Find the work of rooting into the earth well. Relax your neck. Feel free to move. You can pedal your heels down one at a time, whatever feels nice in your body. What do you love about dog pose? What's here for you that is enjoyable, that gives you a sense of presence? Melt the head. And then walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Fold in half. Okay, opening up the hamstrings and the whole back line of the body. So drop your head down. Bend your knees as much as you want. Sit bones lift and widen. Lift and spread your toes. Let your feet open as well. Lift the arches. See if you can lift the arches like bootstraps all the way up to your inner and outer groins. Find a half lift. I'm going to put my hands on blocks for this, but you can hold your legs. Extend the spine forward. Lift your sit bones. Feel your legs straighten, but not hyperextend. Feel the spine lengthen also without hyperextending the lumbar spine. And then exhale and melt, fold in half. Push off your feet, rise up, reaching the arms to the sky. Open yourself up, take a breath, spread out your wings, and then release your arms down at your sides. Find your sense of presence here. So Tadasana, we stand lots in our day. So let this be a practice in and of itself, just learning how to be in a standing posture well. So Tadasana. How are your knees? Are they unlocked? Do you tend to lean into one hip? Do you favor one side? Can you find that sense of presence where we can rock forward into our toes, rock back into our heels, just a couple times to see where is the sense of center, and then find that center and root down. Yield into the earth, unbind your knees, unlock them, and then feel the rebound, like drinking up from your feet to your pelvic floor, to your spine. Find that back and forth. Nothing's straining, nothing's collapsing. Can you open across the chest, feel the heads of the arm bones lift just a bit and then roll back just a bit. We're not locking our shoulder blades. We're just feeling that we can draw back a little bit and let the chest be a teeny bit more open. Do the same with the head. Draw the chin just slightly in and draw the head back just slightly. We're not pulling ourselves back or pushing into the back body. We're just finding that we don't have to always go forward. See if you can feel that the plumb line of your crown is actually over the center of your feet. Find your breath here. All right, and then inhale. Reaching the arms to the sky, take a breath and melt forward, fold in half. Halfway lift, the spine is growing again, extend the spine long. Exhale and melt back down. Let's step our left foot back, right foot comes forward, finding a lunge. Feeling that sense of extension through the hip flexors now, that back leg opening things up. Feel the heart expand and stretch forward. When you're ready, let's rise up, come into crescent lunge. You can put your hands on your hips or you can bring your hands wherever you want them to be.
Be very mindful to not let the low back smush up. See if you can create some space by engaging through your core a bit. Lengthen upward through your spine, extend through that back leg. Put your arms anywhere that serves your breath. Let your limbs be in service of the breath. All of our poses are in service to the breath. And then when you're ready, we're going to twist, come over to the side, let your arms go wherever they want to be. You can keep your hands on your hips if you want. So we're twisting to the right, keep the spine up. Try not to lean forward, hug the navel toward the spine. So protect your low back. Don't let it loosen into that sense of collapse in the lumbar spine. Feel the hugging of your inner thighs. And then release and relax your hands back down onto the floor. Back foot comes forward, fold in half. Let that pose release from your body, melt away. Halfway lift, feel the symmetry, enjoy the symmetry. Exhale, release. Go ahead and bring your other foot back, take a breath. Open up your heart. Our left foot is forward now. Enjoy the lunge, stretch through your back heel. Feel that femur bone lift. Try to unlock the knee. Let the action be through your femur bone and not just at the knee joint, pushing up toward the sky. All right, when you're ready, climb up. Once again, hands can go wherever you want hands to be. They can be on your hips. They can be out to the side with elbows bent or elbows straight. It can be up in the air. Your hands can be at your heart. What is, if you were to just ask your breath, where do you want my arms to be? What would your breath answer? Go there. Wherever that is, go there. What's going to be in best service to your capacity to be present and breathing. All right, let's twist to the side, so coming left. Sometimes, if you make your arms go farther than your torso, just see where you want to land. You can have your hands straight out from your chest and not go very far. Your arms can go further. You can keep your hands on your hips. Find the midline with your inner thighs. Hug to that. Stabilize your lumbar spine. You can even bend the back knee a little bit if you feel like you're overarching the lumbar spine. And then come back to center. Find crescent lunge again. And release your hands to the floor. Step back onto all fours. Hands and knees onto the ground. Enjoy the symmetry again. Cat-cow. And then step back with your heels. Knees off the floor, plank pose. Hold steady. So when we start to work hard and our breath needs to go a little stronger to support us, can you still be steady? Is there a sense of balance between your inhales and exhales? And if the balance has to be skewed, lengthen the exhales. You can always put your knees down onto the floor if your shoulders need support or if your breath needs support. Remember, we're always in service to our breath. And then let's find our way down to the ground. Release into the floor. Take a breath and lift up to cobra. And then exhale and come down. Be very mindful of the lumbar spine. Feel the stability through your pelvis. Engage the transverse abdominis. Open the breath. And then release. We're going to have one time with no hands. So lift up, no hands on the floor so you won't go as high. Feel the back body work. See if you can engage the muscles along your spine. Shoulder blade bottom tips hugging toward the lumbar spine. And then relax and come down. Pick up your feet, turn your head one way or the other, and rock your feet left and right. Even this pose, are you in service of presence and breath? Sometimes prone positions, laying belly down, can be very helpful if you are feeling afraid, anxious. Protect the underbelly of your body. So come back to child's pose. Stop on all fours if you need to move your back around first. And then feel as you come into child's pose that this is a very safe, nurturing place to be. So remember, you have all these tools You have all these tools that you've been cultivating for a long time. All of you are long-time yogis. So remember to use the tools when it matters most. When you start to erupt with anxiety or fear, when you start to skew your mind about anything because of fear or because of anger, can you instead retreat into the body and breath and let yourself calm? Stretch out that space to let a wave of emotional states move through you without holding, so that you can access your highest self to make decisions from. Decisions about what to think about, decisions about what to say, decisions about what to do. Walk the hands forward and find your way back to dog pose again. Find the syncopated rhythm of your breath, inhaling and exhaling. Okay, let's walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Rise all the way up. If you like a block between your thighs for chair pose, you can stick a block between your thighs. This can be a very helpful way of doing the pose so that your knees are stable. Go ahead and come into the pose. If you're not using a block, you can keep your legs together. Find the femur bones drawing back. Move into the hip joints. Feel the weight come into your heels. Lift and spread the toes, and then replace the toes. We don't want to keep them lifted. We want just a little bit more weight into our heels. Find the open chest. Can you find the shoulders moving back? Where do your arms need to go to be in service of the breath? When you're ready, we're going to start wading into our right foot. Hover your left foot off the floor. If you need to hold something, hold something. We're going to stand on up and lift that knee up in the air. Arms back, shoulders back, head back. Find the breath. Exhale, foot back down, chair pose. Arms go in service of the breath. Find your way into your left foot. Sink your weight down. Hover the right foot off the ground. If you're wobbly, if your leg doesn't hold you well, one-legged, hold something so that you can work on building that strength. Find the breath, spread out the toes. And then we're going to climb up, reaching the knee to the sky, open the chest. Put your arms in service of the breath. 2 feet come down onto the ground. Take your legs as wide as the mat. Take a deep breath, arms up. Exhale and come to squat. So now we're in a wider position for our quads, a little bit differently feeling a little differently than a chair. If you have a knee that doesn't like squatting, try not to just lean into your good side. Back away until you feel the capacity for symmetry. And it might mean your squat is very high. You might find that in order to be symmetrical and be in service of the breath, you have to be very different in your postures. So let go of expectations of what you should look like, and instead find the way you feel. How's the breath? Spread out the bones of the feet. Enjoy this, the compression in your hip joints. Widen your sit bones. And then push off both feet. Come on up to a starfish. Big open breath. Heel toe your feet back to center and fold in half. Inhale for a halfway lift. The spine is growing longer. Exhale and melt back down. Right foot forward, left foot is coming back. Lunge. Extend the heart. Let's find a little deeper twist than what we did before. So maybe the hand is on the ground or a block. Maybe your elbow is on your knee. So you decide how deep of a twist you want it to be for today. Try not to let the shoulders roll forward. Keep the collarbones spread, the heads and the arm bones move back. Draw the chin back a little bit so we're not arching the neck. Find your breath. Lift that back thigh. Hug to the midline with your inner groins. Are you in service to the breath? And then release the hands down onto the ground. Go ahead and hop up onto your right foot and lift that leg straight back in the air. Half splits. Extend the spine. Find your breath one more time with the squat, one-legged squat. So tuck the knee behind the knee. Curl in a little bit, tuck chin toward chest, and then push off your foot. Yield as you go. Stretch and lengthen that spine. Place your foot all the way back, finding a lunge. One more time, coming up to crescent lunge, reaching the arms upward. Big breaths here. Where are you in service of your breathing? Exhale, hands down onto the ground, step back. Finding a plank, hold steady. And we're gonna turn our navel to the right. And then we're gonna come back to center and we're gonna turn our navel to the left. So as you do this, try to keep your shoulders, your chest facing the floor as we go left and right with our pelvis. So feeling your navel turn and peek out one side, feeling your navel turn and peek out the other side, staying in a plank, shoulders are away from the ears. You can do this with your knees down onto the ground. It's a little bit more tricky, but you can access a little bit of twist. And then release and go ahead and melt yourself down to the floor. Enjoy symmetry again. Arms and legs wide and lifting. Open up the chest. Find your breath. Feel your diaphragm. Get a little bit of massage. Lifting the arms, lifting the legs. Back of the neck is long. And then melt yourself back to the floor. Turn your head the other way from what you did before. Pick up your feet and move your feet left and right. Be in service of the breath. Enjoy lying down on your belly. Hopefully it's enjoyable. If you have pain in your back, this doesn't always work. But if it's comfortable for you, can you enjoy all the vulnerability of your front body resting on the earth? Safety, stability, ease. Come back up onto all fours, swirl around. Anything that's necessary for your body. You can sway your hips, you can move your neck around, then find your way into dog pose. Lift your heart toward the pelvis. Find the breath, find the yielding. Give yourself over to the symmetry, enjoy the symmetry. Can you be present? Does yielding help your presence? Eyes open or closed, which helps your presence? Slow, steady breath. Let's bring our left foot forward, come into a lunge, find a twist on this side. Okay, right hand comes down onto the floor or right elbow comes on the knee. You can even put your hand on a block. So whatever variation you did on the other side, try to balance that with the same variation on this side. Don't worry if this side is less capable. Maybe you did a really big twist on the other side and it doesn't feel good. You don't have to be balanced left and right, but see if that's possible for you. Shoulders down, breathe, long spine, lift that thigh bone. Hug your right hip in as your left thigh, or your left hip in as your right thigh reaches back and up. And then release both hands toward the floor. Come up onto that foot, half splits, extend the spine here, reaching that foot in the air, find the length of your spine. Lift your hip, your left hip, lift it up and back. Up and back. Spread open the bones of your feet. Be really active with your leg in the air. And then exhale and tuck your knee behind your knee and feel that little bit of a squat. Spread the bones, yield, breathe. And then push off your foot, lengthen that spine again. Bring your foot all the way back. Come into crescent lunge, up you go. Wherever your body is able to be, you're in service of the breath. As far as how deep you go, you're in service of the breath. Where you put your limbs, you're in service of the breath. And then release your hands down onto the ground. Come back onto all fours for a moment. Put your forearms down onto the ground. And now we're going to step back to a forearm plank. So hold steady again here. Shoulders away from the ears. Keeping yourself, we're not moving left and right this time. We're just staying steady and symmetrical. You can always put your knees down to help you if you need it. Shoulders are away from the ears. Find the chest broadening. Open the breath. How are you in service of the breath here with a difficult pose? All right, let's put our knees down onto the ground. Rest for a moment, come up to Sphinx pose. So don't overdo the lumbar spine. It's easy in a posture like this to just fall into the earth with your back and your pelvis. See if you can stretch the legs, lift the pubic bone, engage the glutes, feel the transverse abdominis, hold steady through your spine as you reach the heart. Shoulders are back. And then melt. Turn your head to the first side one more time. Pick up your feet and windshield wiper. Enjoy laying your front body down on the ground. Take a breath here. Melt into the earth. There's so many things, so many little tricks we can do when we feel anxious. Lying prone is just one of them. Okay. Come back up onto all fours. Feel a sense of movement through your spine, anything your body needs. We're going to come back into the forearm placement of a plank, but we're going to come up to dog pose, so dolphin pose. Remember, your hands can turn toward each other. If it's uncomfortable, if when you put your hands down on the ground, it makes your elbows flare out and your shoulders roll in, then it's better to keep the palms facing each other or even up toward the sky to help you stay externally rotated in the upper arm bone at the shoulder joint. So find the position of your hands that supports your shoulders the best, and then go ahead and lift your pelvis up in the air. Dog pose legs. So thigh bones back, knees are soft. Lift and widen the sit bones. Reach away from the floor with your heart. Can you move your forearms into the earth? Are you yielding? Are you in service of the breath? Okay, and then let's go ahead and rest the knees. We're going to repeat this in just a moment, but first come into child's pose. You can take your arms up or down, whatever feels good. Then we come into Pincha Mayurasana, well, sort of Pincha Mayurasana. We're going to lift one leg up, so half Pincha Mayurasana, I guess, or on our way to Pincha Mayurasana. So let's go ahead and find our way back up, forearms facing toward each other or down. See what feels good. We're going to take our right leg straight up in the air. Internally rotate that thigh, push off your arms, lift your heart toward your hips. Let the left hip reach up and back. Relax your neck. Are you in service of the breath? Change sides when you're ready. Notice if you have a favorite side. If one side feels more comfortable, inner spiral the thigh in the air. Keep lifting your right hip up and back. Lift, engage all the way through to the foot in the air. Heart lifting. And then release and relax. Bring your knees down to the floor. This time, arms down at your side for child's pose. Relax your shoulders. If you want to counter that, you can always put your hands on your low back, palms facing up, and just let your elbows soften toward the floor. All right, and then go ahead and come up to stand. Find your way up, shake out your arms, and let's turn and open up to the long edge of your mat. Remember, anytime you get up, if you're dizzy, just pause for a moment, squeeze to the midline if necessary. And let's find our way into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So, be a warrior. Every pose is a warrior pose. But when you come into a posture like this, where the chest is open, the head and collarbones and shoulders are back, even if your hands are on your hips, see if you can keep that breath, that width across the chest. The powerfulness of an open heart to combat that sense of anger or fear, that you're stronger than that. Your hope, your love, your faith is stronger than that. Let that show in the way you hold your chest, hold your heart, and let it show in the width of your body. So maybe your arms come out, maybe they don't, but your legs are short and wide. So feel that you take up a lot of space, that you're worth a lot of space. Go ahead and find your gaze wherever it wants to be. When you come into this pose and the brightness of this pose, are you still in service of the breath? And if you fall in that, try maybe to back away from the lunge a little bit. instead of going so deeply. So experiment with what's going to help your body feel most at ease in this posture. Stay present for the work, relax into it, stay open. And then come on up, release the arms down, turn your feet to the long edge, bring your palms together and just pause here for a moment. And then let's go to the other side. So our hips are so different, usually left and right. So you might find that one side you can go deep and one side you're like, no, I gotta stay kind of high. I can't go super deep. So you find whatever way. And sometimes I find that when I do this pose, I have to kind of settle in, and then after a couple breaths, I can settle a little deeper. So don't always feel like you have to go to your most depth right away. Okay? And depth is not what's important. Space, breath, presence, openness. So find the open heart, the courage, the faith, the joy, the love that lives in that open heart. So much more powerful than fear, so much more powerful than anger. Can you imagine if everybody in the world was able to master leading their thoughts, words, and actions from faith and hope and love? So be that, practice that in your body. Are you in service to the breath? Let's go ahead and find our way out. Turn the legs to the long side of the mat again. This time come down and rest. So one more time, kind of nurturing inward, letting the front body soften, fold in on itself. Let that be healing, soothing. Relax your head. Long, steady breaths. Let the breaths help you move through emotional states, being present. We have to exercise our will to choose love over fear. We have to exercise the will to choose love over fear. It's a choice, and it's an active choice. It's an effortful choice sometimes. Let's go ahead and bend our knee to the right again, elbow on the knee, Parsva Konasana. Open the chest, put your arm in service of the breath. How can you be free in this pose? What's open in your body? Are you able to yield? Can you flex your muscles of your will to stay present? To choose love over fear. It's work. It's like running. You just have to do it, right? So one breath at a time, just keep making that choice. All right, let's go ahead and find our way back up. Turn your feet the other way. Parsva Konasana on this side. Bend your knee, elbow comes down onto your knee. Are you feeling open? How is your chest able to feel more open? What can you give to yourself to broaden the rib cage, to let the breath move deeply? Are your limbs in service of the breath? Where are you placed? Maybe you need to go higher and put your hand on your knee instead of your elbow on your knee. Maybe the arm in the air needs to change its position. You keep the shoulders away from the ears. Open your breath. Choose to feel the yielding. Drop into the earth and feel the rebound. Be in relationship. All right, come back up. And we're going to spin back to the front of your mat for dog pose. Extend the spine. Feel the length. Open your body up. Last time through a plank, so hold steady or do a little twisty left and right, whatever kind of play you want. Are you in service of the breath? All right, let's come down. Find child's pose. Settle your hips back toward the heels. Relax your head. Come to be on your right side for a moment. Lie down on your right side and grab onto your left knee. Let's just have a moment of stretching your quad for a moment. Extend the spine. You can always support. You can put a block under your head or a blanket if that feels better. Are you in service to the breath? Okay, let's come around. Do the other side. So just roll over onto your left. Go ahead and grab your right foot. And always, if you can't reach a limb, you can wrap a strap around your foot. When you do this posture, can you stay open across your chest? So it's easy to kind of collapse down. Stay open across your chest. Put your other limb, your left leg and left arm in a place that supports you. All right, and then relax. Roll over onto your side and come up onto your onto your shins. So we're going to do camel pose, and this is a tricky pose for a lot of people's lumbar spine. So if you're vulnerable in your SI joints or your lumbar spine, you might want to switch and do a bridge pose instead, which is very similar, but you have a little more control of moving with gravity in bridge pose if you feel vulnerable, okay? So come up onto your shins, bring your hands onto your back for a moment. And before we do this, take your palms down behind you and open up the shoulders, spread open the wings, take your elbows back, feel the openness across your chest. And then decide, do you want to keep your hands like that? Do you want to have your hands on your sideways, kind of bearing your pelvis down a little bit so that you have some weight of your hands against your hips? See what feels best for you. You can also do this pose. I'm doing it against the leg of my table, but a wall would be really nice. You can put your whole pelvis and shins, your thighs and your pelvis against the wall. This can be a very nice way of doing camel pose because it'll prevent you from going too far. So blocks are nice next to you if you want. You can always bring your hands onto blocks as you open up the chest. Press your shins into the floor. Try not to externally rotate the thighs. Internally rotate the thighs. Sit bones widen. Lift from the pubic bone up to the heart. Press your shins into the floor. Do not go too far. Are you in service of the breath? And then relax. Now, if you struggle with that pose, I'm telling you, not every pose is a good pose for everybody. So if you feel like you injure yourself in that kind of back bend, there's so many other choices that work better with gravity. You know, when you come back into camel pose, you are falling with gravity into a back bend versus lifting against gravity, which is a very different sensation in the body, a whole lot less control in the body. So if it's a vulnerable pose for you, I recommend that you try different postures instead. Okay, let's go ahead and sit. You can sit on the edge of a blanket if you want. Okay. Let's bring our right leg straight out and tuck your left knee in toward your chest. We're going to do an open twist here. So the left arm, either armpit, upper arm, elbow, wherever you land, is going to come on the inside edge of that knee. And then open your body into a twist. Inner spiral of the thighs, be on the center of your sit bones instead of rolling back onto the sacrum. Feel the neutral curve in your lumbar spine. Feel the crown lift. Are you in service of the breath? All right, come back to center. Change sides. Okay, so your leg is straight. We're open twisting here. So elbows coming on, or wherever you land, near your armpit, near your elbow, somewhere around there. We're coming to the inside edge of that knee. Drop the shoulders, spread open the collarbones. Try to be very neutral in the lumbar curve so we're not over exaggerating or under exaggerating the curve. Be on the center of the sit bones. Feel the spine lift. Feel an inner spiral of the thighs. Find your breath. Collarbones are broad. And then exhale and relax to come out of there. Take the soles of the feet together in Baddha Konasana, still up on the edge of a blanket, hands behind you. Drop the knees toward the floor, open up the soles of the feet. Now, once again, some people's backs are vulnerable to forward bends. So when we come forward, try not to round the back super a lot. See if you can stay neutral in the lumbar spine. You might bring your elbows onto your knees, lifting your heart. That might be too much. You might just bring your hands onto your feet or onto the floor. Just find the spine. Find the breath. We're going to take this pose a little deeper differently. So pull your feet further away from you. So now you have like a diamond shape between your legs. And same thing applies. A little bit of anterior tilt to the pelvis. So we're not rolling back on the pelvis. We're finding the front of the sit bones. Open up your spine, your chest, your collarbones. Feel the elbows move into the knees a little bit to stretch through the hips. Stretch through the heart, stay open. All right, and then come back to center. Come onto your back, bring your knees to your chest and rock a little bit. If you need more nourishment for your spine, you can do happy baby pose and a twist. But if your back's feeling enough, that we did enough after a back bend to nourish, then come down, feet on the floor, just like we were doing in the air, but take blocks or blankets underneath your knees or thighs for Supta Baddha Konasana. If you have a different way you like to do this pose with props, then you can lift your chest up more or whatever feels good. But the most important thing I want you to feel here is that you're deeply supported. You're not straining anywhere. So your body's at ease. It's open and vulnerable, but very much at ease. So it's not really about stretching anything. This isn't, you shouldn't feel like this is a strenuous pose on any level, in any way. Let it be nourishing, like you're cradled by your props and the earth, so that you can teach your body that openness, vulnerability are states that are comfortable, filled with breath, spacious, safe. So let your chest be open, your palms be open. Let your face be open, your eyes are soft, even if they're closed. Your jaw is released, no tension in your mouth. Free the inner walls of your throat. Feel the capacity to keep your chest open, your heart open, the breath open. The palms are receptive. The belly is mobile, very free. The pelvic floor, the whole pelvis is spacious and safe. Teach yourself that vulnerability is good. That feeling at ease and open to others, to self, to experiences, to emotional states, to mind states, to breath. Being open is good. Be in service of the breath. ready, you can stay here and you can also just straighten your legs. If you need to bring your knees to your chest for a moment, do that. If you need to put props underneath your knees for Shavasana, do that. Take some deep breaths as you settle into a new state of the body. Shavasana is a gift. Let yourself receive the gift, be present for the gift of rest. Be in service of the breath. As your body melts, can you really melt? Open belly, open heart, open breath. Feel the earth hold you. So let's begin to deepen our breath. Long, steady inhales, even longer exhales. Even here, preparing to arise, can you be in service of the breath? Can you know this state of being able to be present and let things move through you? Be a tool that you can access
when emotional states erupt within you? Can you take the time to just breathe when you feel overwhelmed? The exhales are a gift to the nervous system, so always remember those long exhales are soothing. Try to stay in service of your open heart and your breath as much as you can. Let's find our way into movement, coming onto your side when you're ready, and sitting up to a comfortable seat when you're able. Bring your palms to your heart and choose love. Let all the love that you can muster up that's more powerful than your fear, more powerful than your anger, can you let it expand and spread? Share with whoever and however many people you want. Let that love go forth. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.